Good afternoon and welcome to Executive Session, another conversation between the nonprofit Times and a leader in our nonprofit sector industry. Today, our guest is Bennett Weiner, who's been in and around the nonprofit space for decades. He's the president and CEO of the BBBY's Giving Alliance. He took that role he had been the chief operating officer. Now he's the president and CEO. And Bennett's always an interesting conversation. Before we get started, I want to thank our sponsor for this event, Donor Perfect. Donor Perfect makes it easy to do good without compromising stability or scale. They empower nonprofit staff with simple, reliable tools designed for measurable impact. Trusted by more than 75,000 nonprofit professionals, Donor Perfect supports smarter decision-making, stronger donor relationships, and sustainable revenue growth. Organizations using Donor Perfect average 25% more funds in their first year. With intuitive technology, proven performance, and a partner committed to your mission, your team can focus less on managing systems and more on advancing the work that matters most. So let's get right down to it. Bennett, how's the first year been?
It's been good. There's been a lot of activity, and there's certainly a lot of increased interest and a lot of trust issues, certainly in the past year. So I'm glad I am where I am and doing what I can to help the sector. But
Why?
for those who are less familiar with us, just wanted to say that we are a charity monitoring organization. We've been reporting under various different names for over 100 years doing this work. And what we do is we report on charities based on a set of 20 standards that address governance, finances, impact, appeal content, and other issues, and then report the findings of the results of that review to the public for free on our website, give.org. The one distinguishing feature of what we do beyond the standard approach is the fact that we work with charities one-on-one. On an individual basis, we correspond with them, we get information from them, they opt into to be participating with us and report on them. And there's a lot of work that goes into every report that's produced. Also, there are about 30 regional Better Business Bureaus around the United States that report on local charities using the same set of standards and the report content that we have nationally.
So you brought up trust issues that you've been seeing. What are some of the issues with regard to trust? And I think you've got a report about that as well, correct?
Well, there have been a number of things that have come into play. I think, first of all, I think there were increased concerns about the pressures on the sector because of the financial issues that emerged with government cutbacks and other concerns along the revenue lines. And I think as a result, people were more interested in ensuring that the gifts that they do give can be generous, but also they can trust the organizations they're contributing to. There have been other issues that have come up, like the online donation platform issue, which emerged last fall with a controversy surrounding GoFundMe in regards to an activity they, began in terms of collecting information on an online platform they created. And there's been a lot of discussion on that. One of the things that we're working on right now is a public survey to find out what the public's opinion is about these online donation platforms, what they expect of them, what they assume that they're doing, among other issues. And that is a work in progress that's going to be coming out in a couple of weeks, but it is something to look for on our give.org website. And of course, we'll be sharing it with the Nonprofit Times and your readers through that when that comes out. Just to
Well,
give
but
you a
Bennett,
taste.
you can tease us a little bit. What are you
Well, I was
finding out
thinking of
so
giving you
far?
one little bit of a teaser on that, and that is one of the things that we found is that nearly half of the respondents, which are U.S. adults, felt that a charity's presence on a well-known donation platform would increase their trust in the charity. So the fact that they see that organization on a platform increases their trust in contributing to that organization. And that says something about their expectation that we'll be exploring further in the survey about what else do they expect the platform to do in order to gain that trust.
Why is trust such a hot button issue all of a sudden, in your opinion? I mean, you've been doing this for a very long
Uh,
time. Have
I,
you
I don't-
seen anything quite like this?
on this issue, I mean, there are always concerns that emerge for one reason or another because of some pocket of philanthropy that's in the spotlight. I think trust has really been around for a long time as sort of a problem for the sector and is something that we call a type of a trust gap. And what I mean by that is the surveys we've done now for about 9 years show that the general public feels very strongly that high trust is important when they're making a giving decision. About 68% of them feel that's an important thing to consider when they contribute to charity. However, the gap is when you ask them specifically, well, do you trust charities? And on a scale of 1 to 10, how many of them are giving 9 or a 10? And that's only 18% in the most
Wow.
recent survey that we did this past December. And that, like 20% high trust, that's been there for a while. It's been up a couple points, down a couple points, but it's been staying there. So what that tells us is there is that, again, that gap between the importance of trust, but how much do they really trust charities highly? And we're there to try to help encourage and strengthen that confidence in charities through the work that we do.
Um, One of the challenges right now is technology, of course. We were talking about the giving platforms, but also there's a lot of chatter about AI out there, chat, Claude, everything else. And I know so much of what's going on in chat is garbage in, garbage out, or good information in, good information out. And from a reporter standpoint, an old reporter standpoint, you always have to double check everything, triple check everything. But a lot of people don't do that, particularly donors. They'll go to AI and or chat and say, "Tell me something about the BBBY's Giving Alliance or American Cancer Society or whatever." But sometimes you've been talking about how that could be a problem for some charities that are a little bit behind on things. Is that correct?
Well, I think one thing that donors hold in very high importance is the issue of accuracy in terms of how accurate the appeals are, how accurate is the information the charity is providing on its website, among other things. And, that's something that unfortunately it doesn't get enough attention, I think, in the nonprofit sector. And, you learn through experience because we've also, when we created a chat function on our website known as Ask Give, and what we wanted to do was create a trusted AI environment that would access the information on our website and then provide answers to the public, not on a specific charity, but also about all the advice that we have throughout the years. And one of the things that we did was make sure that any old information was exited out and cleaned up and made sure that when this function worked, that it was only accessing the current accurate information that we have on our website, not using any other outside sources, because we vetted the information that we're sharing. And I suspect that many charity websites probably could do with a cleaning out in terms of, making sure that everything is current, getting rid of old pages that are no longer really functioning or providing information that is helpful. And because that information, whether they realize it or not, is being accessed by others and, AI functions and so forth. And so a lot of the accuracy of what people know about the organization sometimes is also contingent on how well the organization is doing in sharing the information that it currently provides. And so that's something that people need to also keep in mind in terms of their own activities. But the other thing I would say, as terms of a challenge with AI, is that, you know, when new technology is introduced, um, that's the stage where bad actors get involved because people know less about how to distinguish what's real from what's not. And, we've already seen situations with charity impersonations and celebrity impersonations and all these other types of scams we've heard about taking place. And they're going to get more sophisticated as time goes on, where, it'll be able to mimic someone's voice, someone's image in terms of coming across. And the sector needs to be mindful of that. And so does the donor as well, in terms of making sure that they don't get taken. And so we're in that sort of a touchy time right now where those things are possible, but also there are fewer stopgaps to, help alert us to there's a concern that we need to be aware of.
Yeah, there was a big news story not too long ago. I don't know if it was a national story, but it was here in the New York, New Jersey area about a husband and wife who got scammed by somebody who was a fake Tom Selleck
Right.
impersonator, and that it cost them thousands and thousands of dollars. So, what can a nonprofit do? Can they should they put something prominently on their website that says, make sure that you're at thischarity.com or .org, and how do they make sure that the donor knows they're in the right place?
Well, I think they can certainly encourage visitors to, when they make a donation, come to their website directly and make a give on their, platform, so to speak. Instead of going to outside parties they might not be familiar with or they may be unsure about, if they want to make sure they can give with security and safety. I think that that's a part of it. The other thing is I think it behooves all of us to just, including BBBY's Giving Alliance, to just alert the public to be more mindful of their giving. And if they see suspicious, asks, when in doubt, check it out and go to the website directly. Don't assume that what you're being sent in a link or in a message or something like that is the real deal, because sometimes it isn't, but it can look very convincing. And we're all busy. We're all, busy with lots of stuff on our plate, and not everyone thinks about taking the few seconds it takes to, go directly and find information before they make a gift. But it's really important to do that now.
Are you seeing anything with regard to texting along the lines of fraud from I mean, there are so many random dialers now that you can send out a text on. I know a couple of charities that have had a had a situation where somebody was texting out and it wasn't actually them and it was going to a different link. Is that something that people charities should be making sure
I
that
haven't seen
others
any
don't
really
do?
upsurge in that type of an approach. I'm sure it's taking place. And, like other scams, they use any medium that is possible, whether, it's on the phone or whether it's online or texting or something like that. They'll use anything at their disposal that somehow people will respond to because their guard's down and they're just not thinking clearly on how to respond.
Uh, so much, so many organizations depend on getting the seal from you guys or from one of the other charity evaluated groups. What
Sure.
are some of the larger mistakes that you're seeing that the charities are making on their forms or in their reporting that they're making to you and to other uh, websites that are tracking charity?
Well, I'd say there are a number of things that organizations can do to help ensure that their communications are being properly understood. And let me mention what a few of those issues, just to be concerned about it. One is, I would say, make sure that all the appeals that you send out have a clear description of what your organization does. It's a basic thing, but you'd be surprised that sometimes in a renewal mailing or in some other communication, they assume that the recipient, knows the name and familiar with them. But Paul, you about to say something?
Yeah, I think I miscommunicated.
Oh, okay.
When you're looking at a charity, when you're evaluating a
I
charity,
see.
what are some of the larger mistakes or more frequent mistakes that you're seeing that you have to go back and have them fix or get more information on?
I would say uh, financial statement issues continue to be an important source of problems when they do emerge in the evaluations that we do. And what I mean by that is concerns that come up in terms of making sure the functional allocation is accurately being displayed, and responding to questions that may have on how they've gone about, calculating their total fundraising program and administrative costs. This is particularly true with some of the smaller organizations that we evaluate that perhaps are don't get as much counsel on, nonprofit financial statements. And so there's a learning curve, I think, on their end in knowing what to do. But that happens with some of the larger organizations as well. So, so that's an issue that comes up. The other thing I would say is, making sure that the charity's website includes basic information so that people can be informed. And I'm talking about a roster of the board, information on your achievements in the past year, as well as your finances and access to your latest 990. Those are basic elements that most everyone has on their websites. But some people fall short of that, and we need to remind them about those essential transparencies for visitors through the site so they can make informed decisions.
So, what type of charity or what level of charity do you look at? If a charity is brand new, at what point do you start taking a look at them? Is it 5 years out? Is it 10 years out?
No, actually, we can begin evaluating them as soon as they've completed their first financial statement. And then whether it's a 990 or audit report or unaudited financial statement, it gives us something to address on the financial end, in addition to the governance information, the information on other aspects of their fundraising, and accountabilities that are part of our standards. So they don't have to be around for a long time for us to do an assessment. I would say generally within the first 18 months of someone's existence, they're going to have a financial statement available and would have filed by then.
Okay. So it's keeping you up late at night.
Well, I think right now, like everybody else's technology issues are really an important part of the concern because of the amount of information that's out there, but also the challenges that it provides that we've talked about. And, one of the things that, we're working on right now is a revision of our charity standards that we're going to be issuing a draft on this year. And one of the areas that we are enhancing is, how to address these various technology questions that have come up. And we believe organizations are also seeking some guidance on that too, that we hope to be able to provide.
Uh, So we're seeing a lot of consolidation in the industry as we've every 10 years things consolidate. And you were talking about technology. What should charity officials be looking at when they're deciding on technologies or what, not just technology, but any service that they're looking to use? I mean, mergers and acquisitions change everything.
Um, well, first of all, in terms of mergers and acquisitions, I know lately I've seen an article in the trade press about some organizations may be looking at that as an option if they're struggling and seeing how they might combine forces with someone else in order to continue their activities. I mean, that's always there. I think with emerging technologies, I think although it raises concerns, it also provides opportunity. I think that we have to look at these as tools to use. I don't think they're answers to all our prayers, but they're tools to use to help us do our jobs better. And we have to take caution accordingly, but I think that, provides us with assistance. Um, One of the things that came up about a year ago, we held a conference in New York City, dealing with future technologies and AI and its impact on charities. And we did that in conjunction with the Institute for the Future, which gave a 10-year forecast. And one of the aspects of that forecast when they shared it last year was that, within the next 5 or 10 years, there's going to be more bots out there than humans, cumulatively. So, I mean, we're going to see a lot more of technological tools that are available. What I think that will do for the sector, the opportunity that I see that will provide, is you're going to see specialty bots. You may have like a nonprofit accounting bot, maybe HR bot, maybe bots that are, helping you with, producing your fundraising materials. All these specialty things are going to be out there, and it's a question of organizations using the right ones to get their jobs done. So I think there'll be more tools available to help us, get our message across. And that I think is certainly a promising thing to look forward to. But at the same time, we also have to be aware that when things are new, sometimes they don't always work 100%. And so it will take some of that, curve to get them to function appropriately. But I'm sure that they will assist the sector organizations, particularly those that are smaller, that don't have the labor resources that the larger ones do in order to get their jobs done. Because like every nonprofit, everybody's wearing multiple hats, to get their jobs done, and that's just the way the sector works. But with these additional assistants out there, if they are functioning appropriately, I think that will help us be able to get the expertise we need and tap into it.
One of the challenges, I think, when you're mentioning bots and other technologies, is how you can go to look at something on the web, and all of a sudden you'll get an ad from a charity or an ad from somebody else. I think that donors get a little uh, frightened by the fact that they can be tracked so easily. Do you get any complaints about that?
Um, Not really. I mean, I think um, we complaints on charities actually are rare. We do get them. But the ones that we get, at least about the nationally soliciting charities, are generally of the order of how do I get off a charity's mailing list? That seems to be an issue for a number of people. They have a large volume of mail coming in because they're active givers and they want to reduce it and they want to get off some of the lists that they get. And, that's a challenge for some. But I don't see any big trends along the lines of what you're suggesting about over communication. Even although I imagine it does happen, well, our inboxes are filled with lots of messages that we would rather not see. But I think that's a struggle that everyone is going through from various different sources.
I mean, given you can pick up anything from, you can buy Google names and that sort of thing. I mean, I saw a friend of mine at a charity started tracking me across the internet just to be annoying. So I signed him up for something that's going to be rather inappropriate for him. But but I think that a lot of donors get nervous about being tracked through their technology and where they're going online.
And I think what that speaks to in part is the importance of making sure that a charity has a privacy policy that is easily accessible on its website that describes what information they may be collecting about a user on that site. Can they look at the information and make changes? And how could you inform the charity that you don't want your information shared outside the organization? Those basic measures, which are part of our standards now, but they become even more important, I think, with this, activity that you're talking about. And so charities would be should be mindful of, again, looking at their privacy policy. Is it accessible? What do they have there to make sure that they're covering their bases? And sometimes organizations are negligent in this area because they think, well, I work with another entity that's collecting our donations for us, and so therefore I deal with it. They have the privacy policy, we don't. And I would say, no, it's still your donors, and your policy needs to be up there on the website to help ensure people that you're in control of what's going on.
All right, our time is running a little bit tight. I want to again thank our sponsor for this event, Donor Perfect. Donor Perfect makes it easy to do good with simple tools for serious impact. More than 75,000 nonprofit professionals trust Donor Perfect as their fundraising success partner, averaging 25% more funds in their first year. Imagine what your team could accomplish with tools that are easy to use and proven to work. So, Bennett, go to donorperfect.com. Ben, where can people go to get more information? Is it wisegiving.org?
No, our website is give.org, give.org.
Okay. And in terms of a shameless self-promotion, please go to the nonprofittimes.com and sign up for our e-letters, sign up for a subscription to the Nonprofit Times so you can see all the interviews that we're doing here. And being as we're somewhat of a news organization. The July-August issue is the the Power Influence Top 50, the 50 most influential people in the nonprofit space. Now let's break a little news here. Congratulations, Bennett. You're going to be on the list.
Well, thank you. I'm very pleased to be part of that, and I appreciate you including me.
Thank you to everybody who was listening in. Bennett, thank you for your time.
All right. Take care. Thank you for having me today.